Hey, it's Drummer Dundee here, and today we're talking about conventions, cons, places where nerdy and geeky people can meet up, congregate, and discuss the things they are nerdy and geeky about. Now, this is going to be primarily about my con experience, which is very, very limited. Last year was the first year I went to any kind of convention. Before that, I have had friends who've gone to conventions. I've had friends who've done cosplay and group cosplay and been in it since high school. I had never really gone. I just didn't really know what it was all about. I didn't even know what conventions were near me, nothing until last year. So last year I went to two conventions, both MegaCon. One was MegaCon Orlando, the other one was MegaCon Tampa. Overall, I would have to say the bigger one was the Orlando one. It's also more established from what I understand. And oh my god, I want to go to conventions every year for the rest of my life, pretty much. It was really cool. It had a variety of things. I ended up doing things that I didn't even think I was gonna do. I skipped out on some things that I thought I was gonna do. I had a really good time. So if you've never been to a convention before, you might be thinking well, what do you do there? There's people in costumes, whatever, you walk around. That's pretty much what my understanding was. I only really knew about conventions from seeing footage of San Diego Comic-Con and things like that. So it's okay, I know there's people in costumes. I know they wait in lines for a long time. That was about it. So when I went to MegaCon Orlando, I really liked how it was set up. Yes, there are people in costumes, of course. You can go in a costume if you want. Maybe I'll go in a costume later on down the road. But there's also things like panels and shops and places to kind of go and interact. So one of the biggest things there is probably all the vendors, all the places you can go and buy things. And there are really cool things you can buy. I did not anticipate being so excited to buy things as I was, but it was really neat. There's a lot of things like prop replicas and weapons, swords and staves and all this cool stuff that you can see, you could feel like an RPG character and have. There's of course loads and loads of comics, just used comics of varying qualities, varying quantities. There's things like collectibles, pop figures are really popular. If you don't know what those are, they are these really collectible figurines that have a very distinctive art style. I don't specifically collect them, but when I went to MegaCon, they were stacked to the ceiling. It was this wall of pop figures, and it was super crazy. There's also exclusive con things, if you pay a certain price, you get this bag that has specific stuff you can only get this one time at the convention. And of course, with things like Loot Crate and exclusivity and cover variants in comic books, nerdy, geeky people like things that are exclusive and collectible. It's kind of just how it is, pretty much. So when I went, you go and get a ticket, you get this kind of guide that gives you an idea of what might be going on. It has schedules, it has ads in it of course, and it has who is where. So in addition to vendors and shopping and things like that, you can also, if you want, meet a celebrity. So for instance, in this one, there were people from Doctor Who, there were people from the new Star Trek, lots of people, very famous people. I'm not an autograph person. I don't really understand the concept of getting things autographed, I guess. It's nice to meet someone whose work you enjoy and talk to them. I just never really felt comfortable with the idea of paying for a photo op or, again, getting someone's autograph. It's kind of proving that you met them to me. It's I remember meeting you. That's okay. I have that memory. I don't need you to sign anything. I don't know. So I'm not an autograph person, but I understand other people are autograph people. So you can go and get people's autographs. You can get pictures taken with them. You can just have a quick chat with them. I mean, hopefully it's quick because there's going to be a line of people behind you. But that is also a very big draw at conventions, is the celebrities, actors, writers, in the case of comic books, artists, and other people who will be there. So for instance, this upcoming MegaCon that I'm planning on going to in May is going to have most of the cast of the original Rocky Horror Picture Show. So Tim Curry's gonna be there, and most of the other like supporting cast as well, and I'm super excited. Like, it's something that I really want to see. It'd be really cool to just see Tim Curry in person. I don't know if I'll like go to talk to him or anything, but it would be really neat. Something else that tends to be at a lot of conventions is a Rocky Horror Shadow Cast. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll probably make another like more specific Rocky Horror Picture Show video later. A Rocky Horror Shadow Cast is when they show the movie, Rocky Horror Picture Show, which originally started out as a stage musical, but they made a movie version of it. They show the movie, and then they have people dressed as the movie characters basically lip sync the movie in front of the projected movie, and there's like stuff added on, you like yell back at the screen, and there's props, and it's really fun. So both MegaCons that I went to had a Rocky Horror Shadow Cast. I only got to go to one of them because the other one I was just too late for. I don't really know what happened. But that's kind of a staple at some of the conventions, at least the ones around here. So for Tim Curry and other people from the cast of the movie that gets shown at like every convention that they have around here to be there, it's just so cool. Also, speaking of vendors, there is so much stuff you can buy. I, for example, at this last one I went to, got an Archie comic book, which is Afterlife with Archie. Archie comics are probably the only comics I've really kept up with. I used to get them at the grocery store all the time as a kid. Obviously, I'm not a hardcore comic book person, or even a medium core, or even a softcore comic book person. But I saw this, and it looked really interesting, and I got it for like, I feel like it was $8 or something like that in the used comic book section, and it's a really cool read. So it's just neat that you can go somewhere and have like really good access to comics. I don't have a lot of comic book stores around where I am, and even if I did, I'd probably feel like super awkward going in one because comic books are kind of complicated to me. There's like 14 different versions of X-Men and Batman and Superman. Any kind of superhero comics really intimidate me. I'm reading like Miss Marvel right now, from like the new Miss Marvel, yeah, that. So I'm reading from the first issue on there, so that's probably the only thing I'm going to keep track of. So it's nice to get like used things or things that have already been around. You don't have to worry about where you're starting at. So I thought this was really cool. Something else I also got was a more independent comic, and this one is called Coven, and I thought it was really cool. Mostly based on the cover art that I saw, but it says, when there is dark magic targeting the innocent, the Coven, a team of young witches, meet the danger head-on with ancient power in a modern world. So it says it's part 1 of 3, and this is from Rocket Wolf Comics. It's very short, but I like it. It's a cool read, and I look forward to trying to see Brian Wolf and seeing if he has anything else. That is more along Artist Alley, where it kind of goes from vendors selling things that they make and that are kind of just products to artists selling more things like crafts or personalized things or artwork or comic books or novels in some cases. That's a little bit more along Artist Alley, so it's kind of a different section away from just the like t-shirt vendors and things like that. Other things I got at the convention. I got a couple of, I guess they would be very, very, very basic cosplay accessories. So for example, Leeloo Dallas's multi-pass from The Fifth Element. You can see that. I apologize for the state of my nails, by the way. I could not resist. I love the movie The Fifth Element. And if you have no idea what this is, it's a sci-fi movie, and in one scene there is this character who is not from this world. She is actually a very, very ancient alien, I guess you could say. But they have to give her a new identity so she can get aboard this spaceship. So this is like a passport, ID kind of all in one. So the only thing she knows how to say is, multi-pass. Here's my multi-pass. So I thought it was really cute. I was thinking about eventually making the whole, because there's like a holder it's supposed to go in, and I've seen some tutorials on how to make it. It's a little complicated, but you know, this was like $5, but they had like a super prop replica one for like $30, and oh, I wanted it so bad, but I don't know if I'll ever cosplay Lulu Dallas to really warrant buying the full thing, but I thought it was cute. Another one that I really couldn't resist, same store and everything, was actually for Dana Scully from the X-Files. And it's cute because I don't think you're allowed to make any badge that actually says FBI on it for like federal impersonation reasons. So it says FPI, Federal Paranormal Investigator Division X for the X-Files. So I thought that was neat. They also had a lot of like patches and things like that. So I got a Don't Panic patch from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, something I'm planning on putting on my bag. Speaking of bags, that's going to get me to a couple tips. You're going to need a bag that can carry a lot of stuff, but also not be too heavy. So I actually bought, I didn't have this for the first convention, but I had it for the next one. I actually got the Think Geek bag of holding convention messenger bag. So it's very useful in that you can put a lot of like stuff in it that is like comic books and things like that can slide down in there. It has a little space for like an iPad or a tablet. I don't own an iPad, but if I did, that would have been very helpful. Mostly I just kept anything that would be useful to have a clear front for. So it's like a little pocket and you open it up and you can read like, oh, that's the next schedule. That's the next like thing I'm going to go look at. So that's really useful as well. I also recommend having something that has a very easy slide down pocket, because what happened to me when I went to both conventions, let me grab them over here, I ended up with so many business cards. Like, it was crazy. I did not actually think I would get this many business cards, because it's like, why would I have business cards? The internet exists. That's true, but you're also going by booth upon booth upon booth of all these comic book artists, all of these other types of artists, all of these vendors, all of these people, and that's the quickest way to grab info. I also ended up taking a lot of pictures of just their signage if I couldn't get close enough to get a card. So these are just the cards I have left after I digitized a whole bunch of them. So for example, oh, that was the back of it, but so for example, there was a magic shop that I got a card for, and actually has the map on the back of it. There was also Enterprises, which had some books and things like that, and other comics. There was also Phoenix Fire, which had some really cool stuff, and they have an Etsy store. So a lot of times you'll find the Etsy store to go to. The Monster Cafe had these really cute little handmade monsters, basically, with little googly eyes. There's also the Crimson Throne, which had a lot of cool pirate stuff. Steam Spy, which had this neat kind of card game they were going on with. And this last one, oh, this was connected to my Rocky Horror thing. That's something else. But I have more business cards somewhere held together with a big binder clip. I ended up taking pictures of them, or like if they had Etsy stores that I liked, I went and like saved them as a favorite Etsy store. But you'll just end up, I just had like a wad of business cards that I kept grabbing because it's like, I don't have time to see all this, so I'll look at your shop online. So hopefully most people will have like a website or an Etsy store or something you can look at. Sometimes they don't. A couple places I looked at only had like eBay stores, or they had Etsy stores, but they were on vacation on the Etsy store because they're at a convention. They can't take orders when they're spending 3 days at a convention selling things in person because they're like a 1 or 2 person operation. Few other tips, apart from, having a compact but deep kind of bag. Also consider anything you might be purchasing. So I went in with the expectation of I'm not buying anything big. Like the biggest thing I bought was that Archie comic book pretty much. And then I got some Harry Potter trading cards that I got a couple stacks of these, so they were kind of thick. But that was like the biggest thing I got there. If you're planning on purchasing like, I don't know, a Godzilla figurine that's like super big or something like that, you need to consider how you're going to carry it. Especially if you're in a costume, you might not want to have a giant plastic bag that you're holding or something along those lines. So that is a case where you want to consider, do you need a backpack? Do you need an additional bag? Do you need like a folded up tote bag that you can put in your normal bag? That sort of thing. Also, one thing I definitely want to give a tip about is food and drink. And I cannot believe I did not think of this the first time I went to a convention. Very, very silly. I don't know. By the second convention, I learned my lesson. I was fine. Food was so expensive. Like, I get that I'm in Orlando. You know, I get that this is an event. But they had a food court in the convention area. And they were selling things like, you know, it was like a food court in a mall, kind of, but with less options. So you could get like a sandwich, you can get pizza. I think they had like a Chinese place or something like that. So me and the people I was with, we decided to get pizza. And they were selling like a personal pizza or whatever that had a couple slices in it and a drink. It was like $10 for a personal pizza, which is like the equivalent of like 2 regular slices of pizza. $10! I about flipped, because it was already like the tickets were kind of expensive. I'd already bought all these Harry Potter cards and all this other stuff that I shouldn't have bought, but I like it. And then I'm like, $10! And then like to get a drink, it was like almost an additional $5. It was just, it was a lot. And I didn't even get full from the pizza. I still wanted more pizza. So they price gouge, and you can't like get out and go get food and come back. Like, it's way too much of a hassle to get out of a convention center and go get stuff and come back. Now, granted, I did see a lot of like cosplayers and people who had obviously been to the convention in like McDonald's and Taco Bell as we were driving out. So that's always an option to like grab fast food after you leave or before you go. I would highly recommend just having like granola bars or power bars, or having like a reusable water bottle that you carry with you. Even there was a Starbucks in there, and I'm sure it is price gouged even for Starbucks standards. So while I'm sure it would make a lovely Instagram picture to be, you know, holding a latte while you're dressed as an Overwatch character, just abstain from that. Don't do it. Don't. And another tip as far as other things to do at conventions, try to plan out what panels you want to go to. That's something else that I knew was at conventions, but I didn't really know what it entailed, was panels. So in a panel, you're basically going to, it's kind of like you hear a little lecture or see a little show. You get information. It might be kind of more educational. It might be more just like trivial, fun time type of panel. It depends on the panel itself. So like one I went to an improv show, basically. It was like a geeky improv show with lots of audience interaction. I went to another panel that had 3 comic book artists talking about how they found their style and how they introduced the series they were known for. So you can be listening to industry professionals, you can be watching silly things, sometimes there's like costume contests. It all kind of depends. So if you're interested in going to a panel, make sure you know when they start and where they are. I got really lost a couple of times at the convention because it's just how the rooms were laid out and what floor things were on. And it was like a multi-level building where it was like 3 floors this way, and then you go down and there was like 2, but then it also connected to the 3rd floor. So it's a little confusing for me. And if you want to go to a really, really popular panel, like the costume contest, which in my case I saw was at the end of the very day, like the last thing, you need to be lining up early. So, for example, on one of the conventions I went to, we went and saw John Barrowman, mostly from Doctor Who is what he's most known for in America, I believe, do a Q&A. It was basically like he did a stand-up thing and he answered questions. It was really cool. I was in line for that for a little while, and even then we barely got seats. We were in like the last 3 rows. So that's something to consider if you're wanting to go to something that's really, really popular or something that's a really big ticket item, then you might need to line up a little bit early. Yeah. So my last tip is going to be for the whole idea of cosplay and taking pictures. make sure, if you want to take a picture of someone who has a wonderful costume, say something first, like, can I take your picture? Very simple thing. Also, try not, and I understand this is hard, try not to block up the whole aisle where people are walking to take your picture. This happens a lot at conventions. It's something that's kind of annoying, but it's accepted because you have people with all these cool costumes and you want to take pictures of it. But there was just so many things that dragged it down in a convention with people standing in the middle of the aisle. So try to like do it off to the side. There are some areas, at least in the MegaCon that I went to, both of them, there were specific areas that were kind of meant for cosplay pictures where they have like kind of backdrops. They mostly had Star Wars stuff in the one that I went to. So they had like the prop for the scenery for the trash compactor scene from Star Wars, where you have to like hold the bar to keep the trash compactor from squishing you. If you're dressed as a Star Wars character or really any other character, stand in front of that and people can, you know, take pictures of you, things like that. But yeah, try not to clog up the aisles. We also had a Deadpool conga line that just followed us around, it felt like, for quite a while. But, you know, be polite, ask to take pictures. Also, just have good peripheral vision, because I almost got whacked in the face with a couple people's swords that were kind of hanging off their backs. I think a couple anime characters have like these really long swords, and yeah, they're not like real swords, but they still whap you in the face if you turn around too hard. So just be careful and mindful of that space. So those are just my tips and experience from my convention history so far. I am planning on going to MegaCon Orlando again, which is going to be toward the end of May. I'm also planning on going to MegaCon in Tampa when that comes up again. So when that happens, I'm planning on making more of a video of like immediately after, things that were cool and things that I saw and stuff like that. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video and hopefully you found it informative. Today is actually my 5th video for Vita, Video Everyday April. I'm still trying to go strong, even though my nails don't look that great, and even though I'm kind of tired, but Video Everyday April means every day, so I'm gonna keep going. Just gonna keep going. Yeah. So anyway, I'll see you in another video very, very soon. Have a good one.